An entire coastline is terrified of two orcas. Not a species, not a pod. Two individual animals, and marine biologists can prove exactly why. Off the coast of Gansbaai, South Africa, the self-declared great white shark capital of the world, two dorsal fins break the surface. Not the tall, rigid kind of a great white shark. These are bent, one curving left, one curving right. The guides on the boat go silent. They know what those two fins mean for every great white within a mile. Keep that title in your head, because terrified is not an exaggeration here. It's a documented, measurable fact. An entire coastline's population of the ocean's most infamous predator didn't just get scared, it left, and mostly hasn't come back. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how two individual animals did something no orca population on Earth had ever been recorded doing before, and why what's happened since might be even bigger than what happened to that one coastline. Part 1. Port and Starboard. It's February 2017. Tourists on a shark cage diving boat off Gansbaai are gearing up, cameras ready, expecting the one thing this water is famous for. This is a place where researchers have counted hundreds of great whites a year for decades. An entire tourism industry built on a single certainty. Drop into that water, and something ancient and enormous will come to investigate. Then someone on deck points. Two dorsal fins. Not the tall, rigid kind, bent sideways. One curving left, one curving right, like the masts of a ship that just fought through a 100-year storm. The tourists reach for their cameras. The guides recognize those fins immediately, and the guides go very quiet. A whale-watching operator named Dave Hurwitz had already given these two males names years earlier, based on that exact deformity: port and starboard, nautical terms for a vessel's left and right side. It fit, and it stuck. Here's what made this moment different from any other orca sighting on this coast. Orcas themselves are not rare in South African waters. What made port and starboard unusual wasn't where they were, it was what they were leaving behind every single time they passed through. Before you understand what these two animals did, you need to understand what they actually are, because killer whale undersells this animal badly. An orca isn't a whale at all. It's the largest member of the dolphin family, capable of reaching 26 feet in length, roughly the size of a city bus, and weighing up to 6 tons. Warm-blooded, highly social, and capable of coordinated hunting with communication so complex that different populations have been documented having entirely distinct dialects and cultures, the same way separate human societies do. It is, without serious debate, the apex predator of every ocean on the planet. Not a contender for the title, the actual ceiling. Nothing hunts an adult orca, nothing. Great white sharks already knew this, long before port and starboard ever showed up. Researchers had already documented that great whites will simply flee an area the moment they detect any orca presence nearby. Entire aggregation sites abandoned, sometimes for months, over nothing more than the passing scent of a killer whale. That fear response already existed. What nobody knew yet, standing on that boat in February 2017, was exactly how far these two specific animals intended to take it. Part 2. The Surgeons. The first real clue came 2 years earlier, in 2015, before anyone had connected the pattern at all. A marine biologist named Alison Towner, working with South African national parks, started receiving photographs from divers of carcasses resting on the seafloor. 7-gill sharks, themselves formidable apex predators in their own right, with something strange near their pectoral fins. Clean, precise incisions. Tissue peeled back like something had known exactly where to press before it ever made contact. It looked so surgical from the photographs, Towner said afterward, that I first assumed it must have been done by somebody with a knife. Nobody had used a knife. 2 orcas had passed directly under her research boat the same afternoon she found a fresh carcass. She called it a light bulb moment. The moment a strange pattern in dead sharks suddenly had a living, breathing explanation swimming right beneath her. Then, starting in early 2017, great white sharks began washing ashore near Gansbaai. 5 of them between February and June alone. And these weren't juveniles caught off guard. 12 to 16 feet long. Mature, experienced adults. Animals that should have been at the very top of their local food chain. 4 of the 5 had been opened at the exact same precise location, the pectoral girdle, and were missing exactly 1 organ. And only one, the liver. Here's why that specific organ matters, and it's worth sitting with for a second. A great white's liver can weigh over 300 pounds, up to a third of the animal's entire body mass in some sharks, packed with energy-dense oils that let it regulate buoyancy and survive long stretches between kills. It is, in every practical sense, the shark's battery pack, the single most calorie-dense, energy-rich part of its entire body. Something out there had located that battery pack through skin, muscle, and bone, removed it with what researchers can only describe as surgical precision, and left the rest of a 5,000-pound apex predator completely untouched on the seafloor. Towner's team published their full findings in the African Journal of Marine Science in 2022. The evidence confirmed it beyond doubt. Port and Starboard were hunting great white sharks, using a technique that had never been documented anywhere in the world before them. And here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you, because this wasn't blunt force savagery. What researchers pieced together from necropsy data and drone footage was something closer to a repeatable surgical procedure, performed the same way every time. One orca approaches the shark head-on. The other positions itself at the flank. One of them grips the shark's pectoral fin, the fin that gives a great white most of its directional control in open water, and inverts it completely, flipping the animal upside down. When a shark is flipped upside down, something happens deep in its nervous system that it cannot override. It drops into a state called tonic immobility, an involuntary shutdown, its own muscles simply stopping, the animal physically unable to right itself, no matter how hard it tries. For a brief window, a 600-pound apex predator, an animal that can sense the electrical pulse of a heartbeat buried in sand, becomes completely, helplessly inert. That window is all port and starboard need. One holds the shark in position, the other locates the pectoral girdle, the internal skeletal structure anchoring the fins to the body, and applies pressure until the body cavity opens. The liver is extracted. Start to finish, in every documented case, the entire sequence takes under 2 minutes. Put plainly, the animal that can detect a single drop of blood diluted into 25 gallons of water is rendered motionless and surgically disassembled in less time than it takes to make a cup of coffee. Part 3. The Coastline Empties. By 2017, great white sharks had essentially vanished from False Bay, one of the most historically significant aggregation sites for the species anywhere on the planet. A place where researchers had counted 250 to 300 individual sharks a year just seasons earlier. Entire cage diving businesses near Dyer Island, once marketed as the great white capital of the world, watched their main attraction simply stop showing up. At first, nobody pinned it on port and starboard specifically. Overfishing, shark nets, shifting prey populations up and down the coast. The theories piled up with no real consensus, because a coincidence in timing on its own isn't proof of anything. Then, a separate piece of research, gathered thousands of miles away, made the whole picture click into focus. Ecologist Salvador Jorgensen had been studying great white behavior at California's Farallon Islands, a critical seasonal feeding ground ringed by elephant seal colonies, exactly the kind of high-calorie prey a shark that size needs to survive the year. His team documented something striking. The moment a single orca entered the area, the local great white population left, not eventually, within hours, and they did not return for months at a time. One orca visiting once was enough to override a feeding pattern these sharks had followed reliably for as long as anyone had been studying them. South Africa showed the exact same pattern, but with something the Farallon Islands data didn't have: a specific, identifiable cause. Jorgensen's own research found that other, entirely unrelated orcapods had passed through False Bay before, without ever triggering a mass exodus like this one. Same species, same waters, different animals, and the sharks simply stayed put, business as usual. It was only when port and starboard specifically showed up that the great whites fled outright and refused to come back. The leading theory is scent. Orcas leave chemical signals in the water that can persist long after the animals themselves have physically moved on, and the evidence suggests great whites are picking up something highly specific in port and starboard's individual chemical signature, a signal that, through direct lived experience, has become associated with a threat serious enough to override every other instinct a shark has: hunger, territory, the seasonal pull to return to familiar feeding grounds their whole lineage has used for generations. All of it overridden entirely by the memory of two specific animals. But an apex predator abandoning its own territory does not leave a clean, empty vacuum behind it. Something always moves in to fill the space that's left. And what filled it here made the story worse, not better. Part 4. The ecosystem reorganizes. When the great whites left False Bay, copper sharks, also called bronze whalers, large and genuinely capable predators in their own right, moved directly into the space they'd vacated. In a healthy, balanced system, great white presence normally keeps copper shark numbers and range in check, the way a bigger predator always shapes a smaller one's behavior. Without that pressure holding them back, the copper sharks expanded fast. And then Port and Starboard started hunting those too. On February 24th, 2023, at least 19 broad-nosed seven-gill sharks were killed off Pearly Beach in a single day. 19. All of them opened the exact same way at the exact same location on the body, missing only their livers. Marine biologist Alison Koch, who examined the evidence directly, called it an unusually large number for any predator to take in a single day of hunting. And she was careful to point out that the real ecological damage isn't the raw body count itself. It's how the surviving seven gills respond afterward, frequently abandoning entire aggregation sites the exact same way the great whites already had. Stop and look at what that adds up to. Great whites gone, seven gills now being systematically targeted, 19 in a single day. Copper sharks expanding into the gap the great whites left, and then becoming prey themselves in turn. That's not three unrelated incidents. That's an entire food web, several layers deep, rearranging itself in real time because two individual animals figured out a hunting technique nobody else in the ocean had ever used against a top predator before. Remove the shark that used to sit at the top of a coastline's hierarchy, and every single species below it has to renegotiate its place, what it can safely hunt, where it can safely feed, how long it can afford to linger in open water. Two orcas didn't just kill a lot of sharks, they rewrote the rules everything else in that water was already living by. That still was not the most unsettling discovery sitting in the data. Part 5, Starboard alone. Here's where it gets genuinely strange, because everything up to this point had at least followed one rule marine biologists already understood well. Orcas hunt large, dangerous prey in coordinated groups. Teamwork, numbers, two or more animals working in sync. That's how you safely take down something the size and speed of a great white. On June 18, 2023, off Mossel Bay, Starboard broke that rule completely. No port, no pod, no backup of any kind from anyone. A drone operator captured Starboard hunting a juvenile great white entirely alone, roughly 8 feet long, gripping its pectoral fin, inverting it, and extracting the liver in just over 2 minutes, start to finish, with no partner covering him at any point. He was later filmed calmly carrying the liver past a research vessel, as if nothing about what had just happened was remarkable at all. Starboard's predation strategy here really surprised us, Alison Towner said of the footage, and that's likely an understatement from a scientist trained not to overstate things. Solo predation on a great white shark had never once been recorded in any orca population, anywhere in the world, in the entire history of the field. Port and Starboard hadn't just learned a technique together as a pair. One of them had refined it to the point where he no longer needed a partner at all. Sit with what that actually means for a second. This isn't an animal that got lucky once, under ideal conditions, with backup nearby just in case. This is an apex predator that has practiced a surgical hunting procedure often enough on a target that terrifies almost everything else in the entire ocean that it can now execute the whole thing solo in under 2.5 minutes, with zero margin for error and nobody there to cover a mistake if he made one. And the story does not end with two orcas. It ends with a question that should worry marine biologists far more than anything you've heard so far. Part 6. The technique is spreading. In the 2022 drone footage that first caught Starboard in the act, he was not hunting alone that day. He was one of 5 orcas circling the shark. Researchers identified the other 4 individuals in that footage. None of them had ever been linked to a white shark kill before that moment. Towner and her colleagues have been direct about what that suggests. This behavior looks less like 2 unusual individuals with one strange habit, and more like a technique that is being actively taught, watched, and picked up by animals well outside Port and Starboard's own immediate circle. Since then, the pattern hasn't stayed contained to South Africa. It's kept expanding. Off California's Farallon Islands, orcas have now been documented repeatedly targeting young great whites using functionally the same liver extraction method. Flip the shark, induce the same paralysis, take the same organ. In the Gulf of California, the very first recorded instance of this actually predates the 2025 study's publication by 5 years. In August of 2020, a group of 5 female orcas were filmed working together to push a young great white to the surface and turn it over, extracting its liver the same way Port and Starboard would later be filmed doing solo. Researchers identified some of those same females as animals previously spotted hunting other large sharks entirely, including whale sharks and bull sharks, suggesting this wasn't their first experiment with flipping something dangerous upside down. Then, in November of 2025, researchers published something that should genuinely stop you in your tracks. The exact same surgical technique, now confirmed and formally documented in a peer-reviewed study, from a specific pod in Mexico's Gulf of California, nicknamed Moctezuma's pod by the research team studying them. Filmed flipping juvenile great whites, inducing the same tonic immobility, extracting the same organ in the same amount of time. When the footage was first shown to one of the study's own co-authors, his immediate reaction was to ask whether it had actually been filmed in South Africa. It hadn't. It was recorded over 8,000 miles away, on the opposite side of an entire ocean, by orcas that could not possibly have had any direct contact with Port and Starboard at all. Alison Towner has been careful about how far to take this, and it's worth being just as careful here. The behavior isn't universal. It isn't something every orca population on Earth is now doing, and researchers are explicit that it's specific to certain groups that have picked it up, rather than a species-wide shift. But once a group does learn it, she said, it becomes a permanent part of that group's hunting culture from then on, passed down exactly the way any other orca tradition is, mother to calf, generation to generation, for as long as that pod exists. So here's where that leaves the actual question this video opened with. Was what happened off Gansbaai in 2017 a strange, isolated habit belonging to 2 unusual animals in one specific part of the world? Or was it the first documented sighting of something that was always eventually going to happen? Apex predators discovering that an even bigger apex predator had been sitting right there on the menu the entire time, and simply needing one pair of individuals in one location to prove to the rest of the ocean that it was possible. As of the most recent published research, Port and Starboard are still out there, still working the South African coast, exactly as they have been for nearly a decade. The great whites, for the most part, are still gone. At the start of this video, you knew what the apex predator of the ocean was supposed to be. Now you know that somewhere off the coast of South Africa, 2 animals with bent dorsal fins figured out how to end that certainty for good, and that the rest of the ocean, on the other side of the planet, may already be learning exactly how they did it. If you want to see the things the ocean has been trying to tell us, subscribe. We find them every week.